homesteading. This is episode 2 of restoring a 70-plus-year-old wooden box. I thought it was pretty cool when I started the project, just restoring a wooden box that I can keep some of my woodworking tools in for when I'm on the move, when I'm traveling and stuff. But what I thought was even better was when I got into the project and found that this was initially built for another person in 1943. If you go over and watch part 1, you can see that it was CF to CD 1943 or something like that, and I've left that part in there. I think what I'm going to do actually once I get through finishing out some more sanding and cleaning it up more is actually go ahead and get my soldering iron out and burn that into the wood so that it's really lasting. I might chisel it some and then solder it, just to make that piece of history really stick around. But here's the box now. As you can see, the compound here, focus, has started to clean up. Now, I know what you're thinking. It looks sloppy, and that's okay. What we did was take wood shavings, the really fine stuff, the sawdust, mix it with some wood glue, made a paste out of it, and then used it to fill in all the seams, the cracks, the holes, stuff like that. Because I wanted to keep using what was here to move forward. So what I'm going to do now is fire up the sander and start going to work on it again. I got it set up here on a couple buckets this time because my workbench is completely full up of stuff. So, but I really want to get back in the project, and I'm going back with some 80 grit here. Same thing. Gonna smooth everything out and then I'll bump it up. I'll probably go to 120 and then I'll probably finish with probably a 320 and then move from there. So just time to start cleaning this up. I know you don't want to watch a good 35-40 minutes of me sanding because I'm going to be doing sanding by hand too. This is just for the top. So I'll bring you back after I get it cleaned up. Alright, I just finished sanding the top part. I went over it with the 80 grit and there was a couple parts that were rough, with the seam filling. So I hit that with a 60 with a little hand plane and or hand sander, sorry. And I also brought out my hand plane because there was a couple high spots. So I went ahead and brought these high spots down in these corners and right here. And then I went ahead and hit it again with the 80. So as you can see now, that's what the seam looks like after it's been filled. You can tell there's a line there, but it's not the big globby mess or anything. And also it's airtight and sealed. And so now I can start going ahead and sanding off the rest of it and getting this thing cleaned up. Alright, I got it completely sanded down to where I want now. Definitely looks real clean. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through, there's so many different edges on here and I can see little splintering and stuff. So So I'm just going to take one of my planes. I'm going to set it to a real fine depth. It's a really sharp blade. This is a Stanley that I picked up quite a while ago. It was in my vintage tool bounty video. I haven't finished restoring it yet. This is a number H102, and like I said, I'm going to set the blade really shallow so that I can take really fine. Let me zoom you in. So anyway, here's the block plane. Like I said, it's just a small one. You hold it like this with your index finger in the front and just guide. What I'm going to do is recess that blade, and I just want it really, really fine, so I'm taking off tiny little shavings. And I'm going to go ahead and put a chamfer on every single edge here. And I'll show you what I mean about how fine of shavings I'm going to take. And I'm just holding this at an approximate 45-degree angle. As you can see, it's pretty sharp, little tiny shavings. Like I said, I just want to put a small chamfer on it so that I don't run the risk of these edges splitting out on me or splintering or anything else. If you're not comfortable with using a block plane, or don't have a lot of experience with it, you can use your sander and do this also. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to round it off. I just want to break that edge some, cut through those fibers, make sure I'm going with the grain. Just really, really fine shavings. But I want to keep it the same all the way around. Yes, regardless of what people tell you, it is okay to take a plane and pull it towards you. Especially when you're doing, the little fine things. It's whatever's comfortable with you, how the grain's feeling. You really got to be able to read the wood and listen to what it's telling you, feel what it's telling you. And this goes with any woodworking project. And I definitely have a bunch coming up. So I'm going to go ahead and finish these chamfers, and then I'll bring you back for more. I can't stress enough the importance of having your tools taken care of and having them sharpened. And I mean, I didn't get caught up once, just followed the grain. And I mean, these are just tiny, tiny shavings. So I went through, chamfered all the edges, even on the bottom, because that's not going to affect on how it sits. I mean, this is a really heavy box. It's really sturdy. It's got a nice airtight seal on it after, I trued up the corners and got everything set, so now it's for the next step. And this step has been something I've been going back and forth on. I really just wanted to get some tung oil and do it that way. And I was just going to rub, layer of tung oil on it, but I noticed in the sanding and how I had to do the plane and clean up edges and everything else that there used to be a layer of varnish on here. So, as you can tell, I'm covered in sawdust. It's spectacular. But anyway, so I've really gone back and forth on it, really thinking on, is this something I want to varnish or use the tung oil? So, after thinking about it for quite some time, even before I started the project and everything, like I said, I was just going to run with tung oil, but as I got into the project and thinking about what I'm going to use this box for, I am going to go ahead and use a stain on it. I'm going to use a cherry stain, just because I love the cherry and I think it'll really pop on this wood. I can tell from the wood that I've been working and everything that this isn't oak. It's a harder wood. It's also really heavy, really old. But I'm going to go ahead and stain it with some cherry, and then I'm also going to put several coats of lacquer on it, which isn't anything I do with my tools, but I'm going to do it with this because it's a toolbox that's going to be banged around and hit around, and because it's so old and I want to use it, I don't want it damaged or chipped or anything else, so I'm going to put a bunch of layers of lacquer on this thing, just thicken it up and make it nice and smooth. I might even put some tiny little rubber nubs on the bottom of the feet so that when I put it in my car it doesn't slide all around on me and everything else. So I'm going to get the stain out and I'm going to start staining this now. So I'll bring you along for that process.